Hi, I'm David with the Brevnik Fishing Team, and today we're going to be talking about rods, reels, and the line that you need to catch bait. So this is all recommended stuff. You don't have to follow everything I say, but I highly recommend that you do follow this because it's going to be helpful to when you're on the water. So with me I have two Daiwa spinning reels. This is a Daiwa D-Shock. This is one I've won in tournaments. I actually have several of these, and this is a Daiwa BG series. These are a really great series reels. If you want to check out these Daiwa BG series, I'll leave a link below in the description at dbbaitpens.com. You can also get electronics and all the other good stuff you need for your boating life. So make sure to check out electronics there because they do have a big sale going on, $800 off on a bunch of the big high-ticket electronics. So let's talk about the D-Shock series. So this is more of inshore rod. This is actually one I've won in tournaments. This is cheaper than the other one. So what I like about this one is that it's actually a very light action. You can also use it, you don't have to just use it for bait. You can also use it for snook, redfish, and trout fishing. You could even use it near shore if you're going after like little grunts, grouper, and snapper. It's a really great rod. But for bait fish, I would be willing to use this for thread fins, pilchards, pinfish, really any kind of little smaller fish, cigar minnows, sardines. This is a great reel ratio actually I've found, and I really like this rod. Even though market value is $50, it's like a mid-price rod, I would say, for most people. Now you can go with cheaper rods, but the problem is that they will corrode much faster. They will definitely, the reel system, there's not such a great reel system. The drag is not as great. It's not as smooth reel. It's just not a better rod. Now you can go cheap if you know you're going to be using them with little kids. I want to use this rod because it is lighter and they can hold it for a long time. Also, bait fish are going to be pulling, so like if they have blue runners on there, they're going to really be pulling. They'll be like with the blue runners on the rod, and this rod is going to be bent over really a lot. So that's just to show you. So, and then that rod I would be willing to use up to 100 feet of water. I would not recommend this rod if you're going after bonitas, giant blue runners. Now maybe giant blue runners near shore, but in like beyond 60 feet of water, no. But under 100 feet, this is good for thread fins, cigar minnows, sardines. It's really good. I actually have it loaded with 15-pound test mono, which is what I like to use for my bait rods that are that size. I also have several other rods that I'll use with 15-pound braid. Now the problem is that I have younger siblings, and when I take them out fishing for fun, and it's not tournament fishing, they will tend to get the braid knotted up. Braid does tend to knot up a lot more than mono does, so I do like to prefer mono, especially if you have little kids, and that is a lighter rod too. So, and that probably has around 100 yards of mono on it, so that's a really great choice because you can also put the heat on those fish if you need them to get them up if you're in deeper water. So I would recommend using a smaller sabiki with this rod. You could use a bigger one, but keep in mind you want to keep the line capacity in mind. Now you could put smaller line, lighter line, but you might get broken off. The line might start to break because you're gonna have to start putting heat on bigger fish too. So you need to keep, that's something you need to keep in mind. You could put a size 14 or 16 sabiki if you're gonna stay near shore, a couple miles from the beach. Let's stay within 40 feet of water or 60. So that's what I would recommend. But if you're going in deeper water, you're gonna want these BG series reels. About like a 5,000 series reel. I have 40-pound braid on here, and it has 420 yards, 480 yards of line on here. And this actually I have currently set up for a kingfish. I have a DMB kingfish rig right here. I got my fluorocarbon, I got my braid on here. But this holds a lot of line, which is something I really like about these Daiwa rods. This is something I would use in deeper water because I can really put the heat on big blue runners when they're pulling down. I can catch bonitas with this. I can catch bigger Spanish mackerel that I want. You can also catch Spanish mackerel with this too. It's also another thing. But you can catch bonitas, you can catch a stringer full of big blue runners. You're going to want to use a bigger sabiki on this. You could, if you're in really deep water, like say you're in a couple hundred feet of water. I normally don't fish for bait that deep, but if you're inside of, I normally fish for bait within 150 feet of water, maybe 200. But if you're in deeper water, you could also use a smaller sabiki on here too. Or you could use a bigger sabiki, which is what I normally use on for this, for the big blue runners and the bonitas and all the bigger baits that you're going to want to use. So make sure you get a BG 5000. Now you cannot really go cheap when you're going in deeper water, otherwise you're going to have a lot of tackle failures. So do not go cheap when you're fishing for bait in deeper water, and as well as other fish too. Now this is actually a great rod. It's a good investment because you can also use it for bait fishing. If you outfit yourself with a bunch of these reels, you can Also go after grouper and snapper with this. I have a rod that's ideal for kingfishing on here right now, and it's a soft tip where it really bends a lot. Like if a kingfish goes to bite, I have a soft tip, and it's also got a lot of backbone in it, so that's also something I like for big blue runners and bonitas, because I can put the heat on them and I can see if I have little fish tapping on the sabikis and stuff like that too. And a light action tip is nice because you can detect the bite easier too, because it's more sensitive. So if you want to go and you're willing to spend more money because you want to go with you can, when you're going inshore, you want to go after thread fins and stuff like that, and you're willing to spend more money, you're not willing to go cheap, you don't want to go cheap because you want to have longer lasting rods, you want to have better line. Even though I say long lasting, I keep rods and reels for a couple years and I change them out. So I always like to have newer rods and reels. But if you were willing to spend some money, make the investment, which is a good investment, I'd recommend buying 3,000, 4,000, maybe even a 2,000 series reel. Pack it with maybe 10, 15 pound braid if you're an experienced angler. If not, and you're with kids a lot, you might want to use a lighter reel. Now keep in mind, these Daiwas, they generally are a bigger reel, so you're able to put more line on them. So like this 5,000 is actually a little bit bigger than like a 6,000 series Stella Shimano. But I would recommend going with Daiwa. Shimano and Penn, they make great spinning reels, but for some reason I really like Daiwa. They look nice, they look really cool. I'll show you guys that. It's a really cool looking reel, and they're really good. They got great drag, they got smooth, you can reel them in really smooth. I actually had the drag really set light on this, but I can really reel smoothly with this. I can catch lots of big bait, blue runners. I catch everything I need with this rod, so this is a rod I would recommend using. And if you're willing to spend more money, go ahead with the more expensive stuff. Buy the better reels, you're gonna like it better, and it's gonna be, and also these bigger reels are gonna weigh more, so keep in mind if you want to use something light, that because you might be fishing for a tournament to catch bait. Like what I would normally do, I'll go out the weekend before, I'll get all my blue runners and cigar mills, which I like to use for kingfishing, the weekend before, and then I like to have bait already set for pre-fishing and tournament day. So if you're gonna be staying out there all day, you're gonna want to go with something lighter. I normally am able to find my bait in shallower water, so I'll go with a bunch of these rods, and I normally won't have to use this rod. But you can use this rod too if you really want to be able to get them up fast. I also like to have a little bit of fun catching bait too sometimes, so I like to go with these smaller rods. Also, something I also do use a bunch of the 4,000 series Daiwa BG series reels for bait fishing, for the blue runners, thread fins, and cigar minnows, sardines. I use it for all that stuff. So most of the reels that I'm buying are 5,000, 4,000. I would recommend a 4,000 series reel, because you're going to like it better, you're going to be able to put more line, you're going to be able to do more with it. And keep in mind, when you buy these expensive reels and these expensive rods, you don't just have to use them for just bait fishing. You can use it for grouper, snapper, kingfish, Spanish mackerel, trout, redfish. It depends, match. If you're going after snook and trout inshore, I would not recommend 5,000 unless you're going after some big trout, or I mean some big snook and big redfish. Like maybe if it's like tarpon season, you could use this reel. But if you're just going after, if you want to be able to target snook and redfish, most of the time a 3,000 or 4,000 series reel will be fine. You could also use it for target smaller reef fish, but I like to do a lot of offshore fishing, so I would buy this for me. I normally don't use this as a bait rod. I normally will use one of these rods or 3,000 or 4,000 series Daiwa, and most of the time it's the 40. Actually, normally like 90% of the time I'm using a 4,000 series Daiwa spinning reel with a light tip rod. That way I can detect the bite when I'm reeling it in. So really you want to depend. I would recommend to have at least 15 pound test braid on your lines, your rods. Try to keep it at 15. That way you can put pressure on the bait. Like if you're off the beach and you have a stringer full of blue runners that bite, and you have a smaller sabiki, because keep in mind sometimes those blue runners, they see the smaller sabikis and they'll bite it, and you'll get the blue runners to bite on that. So you're gonna want to be able to put some heat on them too. That way they don't spool you. Now, I've never gotten spooled, so I cannot tell you how much line the minimum amount would be, but I would recommend having at least 100 yards of line. So try to at least put 15 pound braid on these, and you want a light tip again, and then that's pretty much all I can think of for right now as far as rods and reels goes. So if you're willing and you have the money to spend on a nicer rod and nicer reel, do it. You're not going to regret it. It's worth the investment. Keep in mind, that's not the only way. that you can catch bait. You can also catch bait with cast nets, so keeping that in mind. If you can, buy the nicer reels, that way you can also use it for other things. You don't have to buy as many, and you're gonna like using nicer reels too, because it looks nice. They feel better when you're reeling it in, and it actually really performs better too. So I'll leave a link below where you can buy these Daiwa BG series reels down below in the description. And then when you get back, you're going to need to have a bait pin to put your bait in if you're storing it long term, or if you're just going out for the day and you're going offshore. Maybe 2 of these rods are good, and that way you have another guy dehooking baits. I'm going to have a video coming out soon on how to use a dehooker. So that's really it for today's video, guys. Make sure to have a bait pin if you're keeping bait at your dock. I would recommend a D&B bait pin. You can also get a custom bait pin if you email them at dbbaitpens@gmail.com. That's a great place to get your bait pins done because they're collapsible, they collapse down. And also keep in mind, you're getting a collapsible bait pin, so it may cost more, and they're customized too. And also you have to keep in mind the shipping cost too, because they do cost a lot to ship. I'm aware of that. But D&B bait pins I really find outperform other bait pins, so go with a D&B. Buy the nicer rods if you can. Basically what I'm saying is buy the better stuff, buy better electronics, buy all the better stuff that you can. If you can put bigger electronics on your boat, pick bigger electronics on your boat. That way you're able to see the fish better. You can make out all the difference in the water column. So if you're willing to spend more money, you're going to be more productive, you're going to catch more fish. So go with the more expensive stuff if you can. If you really don't have the money, or you just want to have fun, or if you have kids starting out and you don't really want to use an expensive tackle yet, and you want to start them out, I would recommend starting them out on cheaper tackle. But if you can, you're a sophisticated angler, you're going to want to use this bigger, more expensive stuff. Keep in mind, it's also nice to get some sport out of fishing, bait fishing too. So the decision is completely up to you. And thanks for watching, guys, and make sure to subscribe and like this video, that way you don't miss future videos, and hit the notification bell. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time.